Considering that you clicked the title of this video, you already know where we're going and why I have this article pulled up, because we're going to have a good old larf. Take a look at this. Can you imagine a group of black men walking around with masks and guns? Gun rally sparks questions of racism and privilege. And this is from the new civil rights movement.com. I saw this going around and I just had to laugh for several reasons. It's not just this one website. There are a ton of websites all saying the same thing. There are a ton of high profile personalities, celebrities, Sarah Silverman, for instance, saying, look at these white men with rifles standing on the steps of the, of the state building in Michigan, and nothing happens. But when you get these peaceful protesters in Minnesota, then the police come out. Yeah. It truly is an excellent argument for the Second Amendment, isn't it? I've never been a super pro 2A, but I'll tell you what, the more I see this stuff, the more I start leaning in that direction. The more I'm like, you know what? I think the conservatives were right about this one. Now we got to make sure that responsible people are the ones getting access and things like that. And there are real, I think, good faith questions being brought up by many people who are on the left about firearms. But hold on a second, man. Can you imagine a group of black men walking around with masks and guns? Well, yes. Not only are these dudes armed on the at the Capitol building, look, I'm sorry, you know what? There's no news here. I gotta stop. There's no news. There's nothing to report, nothing to see here. Oh, there's a picture. Oh, it's a picture of a bunch of black men just standing. It doesn't mean anything. You know why? Because these black men are doing everything under their rights. They are armed with rifles. They are wearing masks. I have no complaints. They look like good dudes. Much respect to these guys. They are just basically being people. So can I imagine a group of armed black men with masks and guns? I can. I'm actually looking at a picture of it right now. I'm tired of this narrative, man. That, these libertarian 2A activist types, these conservatives, Trump supporters who are defending their rights on the steps of the Capitol building or whatever, did anything wrong. It's their first and Second Amendment rights. It's Constitution. These guys, I see this. Yes, absolutely. I'm glad they're doing it. 100% glad they're doing it. To stand up for their rights, the same as everybody else. I mean, I've had criticisms of a lot of the lax gun laws in this country, but you know what? Your rights are your rights, man. It was an argument made to me a couple of years ago, and it really kind of shifted me a little to the right on 2A. Because I used to be like, I think there can be a reasonable approach to controlling things. And I got a comment straight at me saying, then I think we should have a reasonable control on what you say, Tim. Because if you want to have controls on 2A, I should have controls on 1A. And I was like, fair point, duly noted. I agree. So when I see a bunch of these dudes, standing, marching around, armed and stuff, I say, hey, man, they're not breaking any laws. You got nothing to worry about. Things could get bad. These things happen. But I'll tell you what, strangely, when these guys showed up in Michigan armed, nothing happened. When all these people showed up in Virginia, nothing happened. In fact, they won. The protesters won in Virginia. It was truly spectacular. Now, to go back to this original article, and I want to read this other article for you. I want to laugh, too, because this article was talking about, I believe, the Virginia gun rally, Richmond, Virginia. The Black Panthers were there in support because the Black Panthers used to march with weapons, too. Legal. Here's what I see when I see this story. I saw somebody post this earlier, and I was like, whoa, that's really cool that they're doing that. Like, you have your rights. Good for you. And then I stopped and I thought, it's not news. Why is it news that Americans are just doing normal American things? Why would it be news that these men who are wearing masks and armed, how's that news? Everything they're doing is legal. It shouldn't be. To see an American exercising their God-given rights should not be news to anybody. But it is because of the political pandering, the racism, and the tribalism. Check out this story. This story is from yesterday. And these people were protesting the killing of George Floyd. Good on them, man. These dudes rock. After a series of events where mostly white protesters carried guns to the Michigan Capitol and drew national attention, a group of armed black demonstrators hoped Thursday to send their own message. I want to present myself as an adult black man, fully armed and not a danger, said Stephen Alexander, 46, of Lansing, who carried a pistol outside the Capitol building during the event. If you are not a danger to me, I am not dangerous. It's as simple as that. Bravo, good sir. Much respect. That's a great statement. Organized by the group Legally Armed in Detroit, the Thursday event drew about 50 people to Lansing in protest of brutality, including the shooting of Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia in February and George Floyd's death while in police custody in Minnesota on Memorial Day. Among those in the crowd Thursday were many individuals who were openly carrying firearms. Rick Ector, 52 of Detroit, who helped organize the event, said the nation is still dealing with the issue of hate. Ector said he hoped to bring together Black and other minority individuals who share concerns about violence, especially racial violence. If you look at what's happening, you might want to take a more active role in your personal protection, said Ector, a firearms instructor. Hear, hear, good sir. I was in Texas, the Trump rally. A bunch of dudes were walking around, they had armor on and they had guns. And then it was a bunch of white dudes. And a black dude walks up and he had a shirt on that said Black Guns Matter. And they walked up, shook hands, and they were hanging out. Why? They had a bunch in common. That was really cool. It was really cool. I was like, you know, a lot of people try to play this race baiting game and this firearms game. And here I see people that are supposed to be these evil white bigots with guns, and they were laughing and enjoying themselves. And they're talking about their culture, the things they like, the things they enjoy. Look, I'm a skateboarder. I'm not a gun person. If I saw somebody of any race, even somebody who didn't speak English, I could still talk to them using skateboard terminology and language. And if I saw somebody of a different race with a skateboard, I'd be like, oh man, you're rocking the Fanner Anti-Hero 8.5, right? Dude, that is epic. I use that board. I like them a little bit longer. I've got, I'm using a Tony Trujillo 32.5 by 8.5, made it a little bit longer. I like it better for skating ramps. That's it. You're laughing, and he's gonna say, nah, that's too wide, man. You can't go too wide. That's the jargon, and that's the mutual respect, and we're communicating because we have something in common we enjoy. Here at this rally, I'm like, I understand exactly that feeling. I have met with people and seen their boards and talked skateboarding, and they're talking what they enjoy, their hobbies and stuff. I'm like, cool. So why do we got to have all this fake animosity on social media? I can't understand for the life of me why people like Sarah Silverman, why these leftists want to keep showing these right-wing dudes with their guns in the state and attack them as though they did something wrong. I'm like, look, man, a bunch of dudes with Gadsden flags and Trump flags with guns, they're doing everything legal. They're minding their own business. If you don't want to be there, then you can leave, but they're allowed to do it. And so are these men all the same. And that's what they keep trying to claim. And there's the big point. Sarah Silverman saying, look at these peaceful protesters. Nah, I'm sorry, man. You got a riot on your hands. And I blame the cops in Minnesota for a lot of what's happening. For sure, they arrested a CNN reporter. I'm not down with that. That's a violation of 1A, let alone when they violate 2A in New York City by stopping and frisking people who they suspect of having weapons. But I'm looking right now, and I'm saying if you want to do a real one-for-one, if you want to do a real comparison, take a look at these dudes. Nobody gave them any of the business. They got to do their thing. I think that's great. Maybe if there were people like this, legally armed in Detroit, these men, firearms instructors, responsible gun owners, exercising their God-given rights in this country, maybe if they were around and marching with these protests, things would have been more orderly. The police would have been more careful. Maybe things would have been better. It's possible things would have been worse. You got a riot situation. You don't want people throwing bricks and stuff. Maybe they don't know. There were apparently people armed there. I'm not a psychic. I think there's a potential powder keg moment if you do have armed people, for sure. But I'll tell you what, man, I've been to a lot of protests and riots, and I've seen when people show up and they're armed and they're walking, things remain calm. And someone told me it's because nobody wants anything to go crazy, so everyone is extra careful. They're thinking like we're playing for keeps. You know, when you see people go with water bottles and rocks and the cops using rubber bullets, they think it's not that bad. But when you see real weapons, that's when people realize you're playing for keeps. And when they had this riot the other day, guy tried to loot a pawn shop, lost his life. It's not a game. This could end you. You know what I mean? Now I want to show you one tweet. It's going to get me a little bit in trouble, so maybe I'll try to make sure the video doesn't play here. Ryan Saavedra tweeted, remember all those right-wing people that showed up to their state's capitals with firearms and how everyone in the media and the Democratic Party were, I'll just say, upset about it. I'm paraphrasing because he said a different word. They never acted this. And it's a video from, I don't know who it's from, but Ian Miles Chong posted it. And it's a bunch of unarmed people smashing windows and just generally destroying and vandalizing the Columbus, Ohio State House building. Let me tell you something. These men right here who are doing everything right and have their legal right to do so, awesome. The other people smashing windows and attacking, not awesome. Not awesome at all. No. So if the police come and arrest you because you're smashing things and you're violent and you're destroying property, why would you be shocked? If you're a legal gun owner doing everything under within your rights, Why would anybody do anything to you? So listen, man. There have been videos I've seen where there's one video that went really viral. It's a black man with a rifle, and he's just walking down the street. Squad cars and SUVs swarm him. They yell and they point guns at him. Get on the ground, get on the ground. They come and disarm him. I'm not happy about that. That's what we got to protest. That's what we're mad about. That's violating this guy's rights. Because there was another video that came out around the same time where two white guys are doing the same thing, and the cop walks up and he's like, they're yelling at him. He's like, I just want to check your weapon, make sure it's not full auto. You're good. You're good. And so you can't really compare these two situations because who knows what the context was, different jurisdictions, but you should be allowed to exercise your rights. As much as I might have an issue with, like, I'm not a big fan of people walking around all the time. Like, I would just choose to go the other direction. I see somebody with a bunch of weapons, I'm going to choose to go the other way. All right? That's my right. That's your right. I don't want to mess with you. I don't want you to mess with me. So I think accidents happen, and I don't want to be necessarily involved. But I'll tell you what, though, to be honest, I see people like this. These guys, firearms instructors, I'd actually rather be closer to these guys than, than in some kind of a disaster or whatever, because these guys are trained and know what they're doing. So you see videos like this, and you can certainly see there are racial issues involved. I think it's fair to point out. But it's not fair to claim a riot and legal gun owners doing their thing is comparable. Because here we can see these men doing something cool. And what's wrong with that? All right? You know what? If I took issue, I wouldn't be there. I just wouldn't go. It's that simple for everybody, right? I'll leave it there. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I will see you in the next segment tomorrow at 10 a.m., unless you go to the podcast tonight at 8 p.m. at timcast.com. YouTube.com/timcastirl. So thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.